من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها النبي إذا طلقتم النساء فطلقوهن لعدتهن وأحصوا العدة واتقوا الله ربكم لا تخرجوهن من بيوتهن ولا يخرجن إلا أن يأتين بفاحشة مبينة وتلك حدود الله ومن يتعد حدود الله فقد ظلم نفسه لا تدري لعل الله يحدث بعد ذلك أمرا فإذا بلغن أجلهن فأمسكوهن بمعروف أو فارقوهن بمعروف وأشهدوا ذوي عدل منكم وأقيموا الشهادة لله ذلكم يوعظ به من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر ومن يتق الله يجعل له مخرجا ويرزقه من حيث لا يحتسب ومن يتوكل على الله فهو حسبه إن الله بالغ أمره قد جعل الله لكل شيء قدرا من المحيض من نسائكم إن ارتبتم فعدتهن 3 أشهر واللائي لم يحضن وأولاة الأحمال أجلهن أن يضعن حملهن ومن يتق الله يجعل له من أمره يسرا ذلك أمر الله أنزله إليكم ومن يتق الله يكفر عنه سيئاته ويعظم له أسكنوهن من حيث سكنتم من وجدكم ولا تضاروهن لتضيقوا عليهن وإن كن أولات حمل فأنفقوا عليهن حتى يضعن حملهن فإن أرضعن لكم فآتوهن أجورهن وأتمروا بينكم بمعروف وإن تعاسرتم فسترضع له أخرى لينفق ذو سعة من سعته ومن قدر عليه رزقه فلينفق مما آتاه الله لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا عتت عن أمر ربها ورسله فحاسبناها حسابا شديدا وعذبناها عذابا نكرا فذاقت وبال أمرها وكان عاقبة أمرها خسرا أعد الله لهم عذابا شديدا فاتقوا الله يا أولي الألباب الذين آمنوا قد أنزل الله إليكم ذكرا رسولا يتلو عليكم آيات الله مبينات ليخرج الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات من الظلمات إلى النور ومن يؤمن بالله ويعمل صالحا يدخله جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا قد أحسن الله له رزقا الله الذي خلق 7 سماوات ومن الأرض مثلهن يتنزل الأمر بينهن لتعلموا أن الله على كل شيء قدير وأن الله قد أحاط بكل شيء علما.
As the gender war rages on, in order to bring the peace, we must discuss the exact facts. Welcome to Ex-Faktly. Assalamu alaikum. I am your host, Saudi Imam. Remove your shoes and enter upon your right foot, upon the right state of mind. Bi'idhnillah. Topic: Mayor CUOMO and Deshaun Watson innocent. As far as Mayor CUOMO, he is a high-valued man from the Kufa standards. By his wealth and position, high value. He has subordinates clamoring. Just as with all high-value men, subordinates are clamoring to be in his space. One even admitted that she was hired solely upon her looks. Yet, she took the job despite that previous knowledge. 9 accusations thus far: unwanted kisses, unwanted touching, unwanted advances. His political cohorts are pushing for mayoral impeachment and taking steps therein. Biden, touchy, feely, sniffy Biden, even touching, feeling, and sniffing children, became president. The irony. Cuomo is king of New York City. He's friendly and apparently flirty, but not guilty. If he were handsome and in his youth, there wouldn't be such a fuss by these female interns. There was an old SNL, Saturday Night Live sketch about office harassment. At the end of the day, Tom Brady, who played the role of hero in this scenario, and Armisen, another comedian on Saturday Night Live, who played the predator, who would just walk up casually and say, "Hey, would you like to go to lunch? You're looking beautiful today. Would you like to go to lunch?" They would call the authorities to have him arrested. But Tom Brady would walk up in his underwear. And when I say Tom Brady, I'm talking about 7-time Super Bowl champion Tom Brady, now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Handsome, rich, and of the persuasion for advancement. He walked up in his tighty whities and said, "Hey, would you like to go to lunch? You're looking beautiful." And he squeezed the woman's breast, and she said, "Oh, Tom, such and such, I would love to go to lunch with you." So therefore, this is only a matter of a woman's attractiveness towards you and not a matter of actual harassment. Solution: polygyny. Instead of having these interns surrounding the mayor Cuomo, he should have up to 4 wives on staff in order to avoid these issues. Innocent. Deshaun Watson. 21 civil $ accusations so far against him. That he asked for favors and acted inappropriately while receiving massage therapy. The attorney for the accusers, Tony Busby, basically went on IG and said, "Who has information against Deshaun Watson?" And in the manner of a class action lawsuit, women poured in to give their accounts, knowing that they would cash out. Customarily, when you go at a person of affluence, they would just settle out of court in order to go through, in order other than go through the media rigmarole that usually happens. But Deshaun Watson is deciding to fight the case. And he has hired the attorney that represented Warren Moon and Adrian Peterson, attorney Rusty Hardin, to defend him. Speaking of defense, there are 18 female defenders that are coming to the aid of Deshaun Watson, saying this man acted professionally and he did not once act inappropriately. Reportedly, 130 times over the past 5 years, he has interacted with these 18 women, but not one incident of inappropriateness. And this is his defense. 21 accusations versus 18 defenders doesn't mean innocence within itself, and it doesn't mean guilt within itself. I would say that if he was predatory, which is a very harsh word, these are women. These are women touching over the body of a man barehanded. And he would be the predator. Nevertheless, if predatory, he wouldn't be able to turn it off and on like that. The occasions for him to act inappropriately would be not only vast majority, but consistent. Consistent. Now it bears to see how the accusers look, because we are men, how the accusers look versus how the defenders look. But even Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was guilty, and others have been accused of cheating and doing extra sexual acts with wombats. So a lot of times when the man and woman are alone, as Muhammad SAW stated, Shaitan is the third. So she can be very homely, and still she has what a man wants. Nevertheless, as a predator, he wouldn't turn it on and off like that. He would have kept regulars instead of random therapists at random locations. Because the regulars, you would go in, it would automatically be understood, I want extra. I want extra. I like this. So it would behoove him to keep regulars, other than going random location to random location and having random therapists cater to him. And I note massage therapists. What sort of woman adopts a career of caressing multiple random men for a living? Rubbing, stroking, caressing, you say massaging, random multiple men for a living. As a father, I would be disgusted. I would be disgraced as a father to know my daughter was doing thus. A'udhu billahi min dhalik. Likewise, Deshaun Watson's massage frequency is troubling. Yet, we have to consider NFL, football, American football is a brutal sport, a brutal gladiator sport. To the point where when they have rookie symposiums, they would ask the rookies, raise your hand if you plan to build a house brand new. And they would raise their hand. These are rookies, fresh out of college, going into the NFL, faster, bigger, stronger competition. They would raise their hand. They would instruct them that are planning to build a house anew. Do not build your master bedroom on the second floor. When asked why, the presenter would say, you won't be able to walk downstairs in the morning after your muscles have relaxed and contracted. Very brutal gladiator sport. So we understand the need for a massage. Muslim, I am. I would not recommend, nor am I comfortable with, strange women massaging my body. Even the brothers that have had massages, they can tell you what my stance is on that. I don't want them touching me. Not that I wouldn't enjoy it, but that I would. But that I would from a woman that is not my wife. I'd rather have my wife take lessons on how to massage and then come home to massage me. Again, Deshaun Watson. He would have done better having the affluence that he has to have a personal masseuse as an option. But we live in a world where people can cash out on their femininity and their victimhood. Antonio Brown had a personal trainer, and even his personal trainer accused him of being inappropriate. Where do we go? Facts. The pay away policy, just accuse. Even with Kobe Bryant, just accuse and you can cash out. It's a pay away policy. We pay them, they go away. This is how Kobe Bryant snitched on Shaq. He said, usually we do this, we pay them, they go away. Even Shaq does it. As great as Kobe Bryant was on the basketball court, and only on the basketball court, is how I can measure him. He snitched. Shaq wasn't innocent of the accusation, yet that was not Kobe Bryant's business to disclose. Nevertheless, moving on back to Deshaun Watson, well-known happy ending options are there for the masseuse. Well-known happy ending options. And those of you that don't know what happy ending is, I'm not going to tell you. That means you're not ready. You pay extra, you get extra. This is known. But you don't cash out like you can cash out if you see an IG post from an attorney saying, I am prosecuting civilly for money an affluent NFL all-star quarterback for the Houston Texans. Anyone has any experience negatively with him, you can cash out. So they received money for a happy ending, allegedly. Now they're trying to sue his socks off. Solution: polygyny. This man can afford 4 mansions in 4 different cities, in 4 different states, in 4 different countries. Why is he with one woman? I heard he had a girlfriend. I'm not sure if he's married. I heard he had a girlfriend. I heard that she is physically immaculate. Never saw her. Heard some guys talking about it on a podcast, I didn't look her up. Didn't have the desire to look her up. But nevertheless, it doesn't matter how beautiful a woman is, no matter how physically immaculate she is, and all of the physical qualities and the zina, the treasures that Allah gave her or blessed her with, or she had artificially done. Wallahu a'lam. It doesn't matter. We are men. Our very nature is inclined toward polygyny. A man having more than one woman. It's our nature. From the animal kingdom to human species. This is our nature. So, that is a solution for him. Why should he be limited to one woman? And the brother wants me to tell you all about happy endings. I'm going to, inshallah, bring him in. And we're going to, inshallah ta'ala, discuss this issue. I'm going to have to send the link to his Facebook. Yahi, I'm going to send the link to your Facebook because I didn't have the option turned on where I can interact with those that comment. So inshallah ta'ala, once the messenger comes up, there it is. I'm sending you the link, inshallah ta'ala, right now. I'm bringing in the guest that we had before, very insightful, Brother Akili. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name. I'm not going to butcher a man's surname. So inshallah ta'ala, when he comes in, we will get this party started. So again, Mayor CUOMO, innocent. Flirty should not be a crime. Chivalry is dead and women killed it. The Me Too movement killed it. It's not our fault. We don't mind catering to women. It is our duty as men. It's our nature to be softer toward the more gentle, agreeable being. It is our nature to do so. Nevertheless, when men are on an attack, it produces an aggression. It produces an aggression. And we should not have that aggression toward the fair sex. The brother chimed in. I brought him on. Inshallah ta'ala. Can you hear me?
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You sound great. You sound clear. How do I sound to you?
MashaAllah, very clear, very clear. Glad to have you back on, Yahi. Very insightful. I'm sure I will enjoy this one.
And thank you for having me back on, sir.
This issue of Mayor CUOMO, I don't know if you followed it or looked it up, or you
Not
heard some
Cuomo,
of
but
my
I followed.
dissertation.
I heard you mention Cuomo's name, but I don't know exactly what the accusation is for Cuomo. But I heard about Deshaun Watson, and I heard most of what you were referring to when you reminisced on Kobe Bryant and him snitching out Shaq.
Yes, yes. Well, as far as CUOMO, inshallah, I would like to start there. CUOMO seems to be he's an older gentleman. His brother is on CNN, CUOMO Live, his show. He's the mayor of New York City. He is the king of New York as the mayor, if you understand that city.
Mm-hmm.
He is very flirty. He has these female interns around him. He didn't reportedly rape any of them, One who's 55 years old saying he gave her a kiss unwarranted. He grabbed her face and kissed her unwarranted. Not even aggressively. I hear there's video of it even, or a picture of it actually. And the issue I have is that get out of his face. Men like women. One woman even said, he hired me only because of my looks. Why did you take the job? This is what I would say. Why did you take the job if you had no qualifications except your looks? Your eye candy. Your eye candy. And this is the problem that we're having. You know, this man is a mayor. He is very wealthy. His father was, some type of politician. They even named a bridge after his father in New York. So this is the point that I'm making. Get yourself out of his space. Problematic. When men and women are working closely together, and we know that's against the Islamic policy. Men and women are working together like that. And just as the comedian Patrice O'Neal said, he say it's like putting a bear around salmon dipped in honey. And as soon as a man goes raw, she goes to internal affairs, or she goes to public relations, and she says, ooh, a bear just did bear stuff around salmon. This is not fair. These men are innocent, and they should not be persecuted as far as Mayor CUOMO is concerned. And that is my take on him.
How long ago did they say that Mayor CUOMO did these things?
Within really a short period of time. He's been mayor not for a long period of time. So within a short period of time, it's only 9 accusations thus far, and they are so mild. But yet they're going for his head.
Then that's a witch hunt. Granted, I would say that when people of the book follow their own rules about this, then they can prevent a lot of this. But by the same token, just to be fair, if he's only kissing them non-forcefully, then that sounds like a witch hunt. They're just looking for a reason to go after him. And that's what the climate is right now. I don't know the time frame of the accusations against Deshaun Watson, but I know that there's several of them. I heard it's in the double digits.
21 accusations, 18 defenders that said he did not act any way inappropriate with them.
Okay, so he has accusers and defenders. Okay, I see. Okay, so 31 accusations and 18 defendants. Okay, so
21.
Deshaun Watson,
actually.
Oh, I'm sorry, 21 accusations. Okay, all right. So what this shows is that people of the book can also learn from what our rules are. Now, this also means that we're going to have to obey these rules. And there are going to be a lot of people that want to protest that or just won't want to do it, even from amongst our ranks right now.
Yes.
But we have to remember that there was one person very unpopular with us who said, I'm going to obey those rules. And that we're still waiting on an accusation to come out against him. And that's Pence. For his low IQ, for his backwards conservatism for the wrong reasons. I'm not against the conservative stance, but for his backwards conservatism for all the wrong reasons, we still have to admit that nobody even wanted to come out and accuse him, because he said, I'm not going to be alone with a lady that's not my wife. So aside from his wife, daughters, maybe grandkids, if he has any, I don't know, a sibling, nobody's even said that he's been alone with a woman. So they certainly have not said that he has done anything inappropriate with someone else. And so if it can work for him, it can certainly work for people that tend to be a bit more popular and have more of a following and are less controversial. And so this can be a lesson for even us. When people of the book who aren't us choose to follow these rules, it is not backfiring on them. Whereas, of course, anybody can have this backfire on them simply by becoming high profile enough, successful enough financially, and powerful enough, be it politically or athletically. Then they become a prime target for this. And this is something that men are going to have to understand. This is not the first time this has happened in history by any means. And even when people have not been wealthy, just when they've been righteous, this has been used as a means to take them down. One reason that the FBI was upset and later BOSSI was upset was that they couldn't find Malcolm X or Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabazz doing this. They couldn't find any evidence.
Well, you know,
So they knew that.
they accuse him of homosexuality before Islam.
Yeah, Manning Marable apparently did that. But if I'm not mistaken, Manning died even before the book was published. And so he couldn't even be asked if he wrote that stuff.
Yes.
Did he really write it? And so this goes to show that they will try this stuff. But even if you're not rich, you could just simply be, you could be about something that is righteous. Now with King, some people around King said it really wasn't him that was doing it, but he would have more than one hotel room rented in his name, and that some of his aides were doing it, and he wouldn't expose them for it. But others have said it was him, and it's a whole controversy and a debate. But the point is, they could pin it on him, and so they did so. But we have to remember the story of Musa alayhi salam too, and Qarun, who actually was rich, didn't want to share his wealth, and what wound up happening, he decided to pay a woman of the night to say that Musa got that with her, as we would say in Texas and in the Gulf Coast. And so,
is that the biblical reference about the Ethiopian woman?
no, sir, no, it's not. This was actually something I learned in an Islamic class years ago, and this is where I believe it was Qarun that had these, not his brother Harun, but another man named Qarun who had this. He was wealthy, and he had to have several men to carry the keys to the wealth just to unlock it, and he didn't want to share it. So when it was time to share it, he got mad, got this woman of the night, paid her to say that Musa got that with her, and she said it. And when Musa stood up and defended himself, she said, "Okay, you know what? He paid me to say it. I know you're innocent." And so Musa asked the ground to swallow this man, and as he sank, he begged Musa for forgiveness. And Musa did not forgive him. And so, alayhi salam, this man is sinking into the ground now up until Judgment Day. He's still sinking slowly. And so if this is Musa who, alayhi salam, was not known for his wealth. This is just a man that's a prophet. And people have tried this. They've used slander before. And this is one of the slanders they use without you even being wealthy. You can simply say something people don't like, and that's what they're going to go for. So you have to stop and think, if you're going to be successful, you're going to be a target of this. So it's not really but becoming of successful men to make themselves and their genitals more available to women. It's more becoming of them to actually restrict access to wives, concubines, if there's going to be such a thing, and even to restrict access to their seclusion and their privacy to these wives, the concubines, and to the ladies that are related to them closely. It behooves them to do this because they are high value.
You know,
and this is a lesson they can learn.
There was a politician, I think he was a Texan politician. He was married, and when female reporters would come and try to interview him, one tried to sit in his truck. He said, "No, you will not get in my truck. I would not be alone with you." He refused to be alone with a woman that was not his wife. Now, just like Pence, they clowned him. The media clowned him. "Oh, you're so weak. You don't put yourself in vulnerable positions." The man had foresight. He understood the landscape of things. He didn't want these women that could be as evil as the day is long in his space. Now, of course, this is only a few. Women in their nature don't have that. I'm going to try to measure my words because I can really get busy on this subject. I don't appreciate how they put you in spaces. When you're in spaces with them, they put you in positions and situations where they can destroy your life. This is not fair. So I advocated for Mayor Cuomo and Deshaun Watson that Mayor Cuomo get him 4 wives, and that he makes himself content with them as interns and shut down the intern program, and that Deshaun Watson gets himself 4 wives. I heard his girlfriend is bad. That's what I heard. Didn't look her up, never saw her, but this is what I hear. Marry her, marry 3 others, and make yourselves content, and send them to Masu school, you know. And this is what we're dealing with. But let's touch the Deshaun Watson thing. What are your views on him?
When I heard about Deshaun Watson, I thought, well, it's almost too textbook to be true because who's going to be that stupid these days? But they said it was what I heard is that it was sexual assault. And so, if this actually is sexual assault, then we're dealing with a serial rapist on our hands. And that's the kind of person you got to execute. But it's going to take a lot to prove. And it's hard to believe that anybody would really be that stupid these days. But if he isn't guilty of an actual crime, but rather just being unchaste with too many women because now they're throwing themselves at him, then the lesson is exactly what you said. Polygyny needs to be legalized. And polyandry needs to not only remain illegal, but to also be shamed. But yeah, polygyny needs to be legalized. And if he can't get it legal, then he needs to go ahead and just marry them in front of his own religious authorities, and leave the states out of it. I'd recommend that anyway. But he would need to do what you said. He needs to practice polygyny. And if he himself is not going to accept that the limit is 4, like we Muslims do,
Yes.
then it won't really make a difference to us if he marries even more. But the point is that he's going to have to legitimize and solemnize these relationships with more than one and shun the rest. Somebody is going to need to do it. And who better to make it more popular than a popular athlete? A politician cannot make polygyny popular the way a popular athlete could, or the way a singer or rapper could do so. Those are the ones that could pull this off to make it popular amongst the masses. It says a lot about the masses, but that's something that's in his hands. It's within his grasp. But that's what you're right. That's what he's going to have to do. Limit himself to wives and shun the rest. And really, in all honesty, this is something that men need to do in general. Men, when they're not wealthy, need to start valuing themselves more. Male chastity has a lot to be said for it, but we don't live in a society. Well, y'all don't live in a society that promotes male chastity. Where I am now, there's a promotion for it, but it's not talked about a whole lot, but it is understood. It's preferred, definitely. Male inchastity is not really that excused unless it's maybe in one group of teenage friends. And even then that could get pretty, even then there usually will be someone that would just stop hanging out with the rest of them. And that's his silent protest to say, I'm not with this. So male chastity has a lot to be said for it.
Kobe Bryant.
In order for it, I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
Well, I wanted to say that Kobe Bryant, he learned the hard way, of course, and then he kind of got ahead of the curve. Now, this is how Islam dictates that we use our wives. Our wives are libas for us, and we are libas for them. We are a garment for them, and they're a garment for us. They protect us. Muhammad SAW stated that if you are out in public and a woman arouses you, or you see, one of these what they call baddies or whatever, he said, go home to your wife because she has the same thing that woman has. So you have to have yourself of that mentality, right? And I even add, when I heard the hadith, I say, mashallah, she has the same thing that woman has, and less of the stress, less of the potential for accusation, less of the potential for disease. Your wife is far superior to any strange woman on the street, no matter how bad she looks. What Kobe Bryant did later on was from the Islamic tradition, which is to keep your wife close to you. Take her on trips with you. What are you in strange hotels around these strange women throwing themselves at you? It is well known with these athletes and rock stars, pop stars, rappers, that women would flock into what do you call it, the lobby. They would basically sit there in the lobby like dishes of candy, and you can pick one and walk upstairs with them. They know that they're going to get 200, 1,000, whatever they were paying out, And this is the issue. Kobe Bryant later on, after being accused, what did he do? He started to take his wife Vanessa with him to more places. This is our protection. So yes, if Deshaun Watson, who's a very handsome brother, and I say brother loosely because I usually don't say that for Kufar, but nevertheless, a very handsome man, and he could have four bad ones, and he can switch them out. He can do the Hassan radiallahu an, and when they show any disloyalty, or not on that level of cheating, but any disloyalty, they're not about him, as the tradition says. If Hassan radiallahu an felt that they didn't love him, he would divorce them and marry someone else. So he married multiple times, and this is what I'm dealing with. I'm saying that, or what I'm dealing, Deshaun Watson can have four and switch them out as he pleased. Give him a severance package, even, So this is an option for him. But putting brothers, and Kufar putting themselves in these spaces where they can be accused. I too did it. This is an old story, but it haunts me even today. I too put myself in a space where I'm trying to help a single woman who had three children that apparently the three different dudes, I sound like an idiot, right? Three different dudes prior to me, abandoned her and the children. So I put myself in a space where I'm trying to help, which is the most idiotic thing I've done in my life. And I got accused, so of touching a child, So again, because I didn't pay a cell phone bill, that was the straw that broke the camel's back. I didn't pay a cell phone bill. So I feel for Mayor Cuomo. I feel for Deshaun Watson. I feel for whoever else been falsely accused, and things of that nature. I feel for them because we're putting ourselves in spaces with good intent and also evil intent. Now with the Kufar, like we mentioned, the happy ending is known. Who doesn't do a happy ending? Now the regular dude pays $100 extra. I've never been to a masseuse. I'm speaking from what others have said. Okay, never been. Even as a calf, I never been to a masseuse. I'm not bragging. I'm saying it's just not my experience. But I'm reading for $100 from a regular person, you can get a happy ending. Okay, I'm sure Deshaun Watson is probably dishing out 1,000 or better. You know. And
Well,
what you do, you pay these That's why these kufar, these red pill kufar, talk about they love prostitution. Why? Because these women they're professional. They don't accuse you. They give you what you want. You give them what they want, which is money, and there's no litigation. The problem is they have to discipline themselves to 4 wives, and if they do this could save them in the future.
well, the it says a lot that the red pill disbelievers, and granted, there are multiple camps. There are those who are for what they call tricking, paying prostitutes, and then there are those that are not for it.
Okay.
But it says a lot that the ones who are for it can come up with such logical arguments to support it. And to be honest, they can come up with it. I just have to say, as a Muslim, I'm not allowed to suggest that kind of thing. I can't sit up and tell you that you're going to get away with that either, because it's at the end of the day, it comes down to the fact that sex is something that people aren't just going to get away with in many cases. The problem is that these guys, when these guys do this, when they decide that they're going to step out, whether it's to pay or not, they have to understand that they're going to pay. Now, but granted, marriage can be expensive too. And nowadays people will make marriage, especially Muslims, they'll make it more expensive than a non-Muslim woman will make it. And they'll do it because they know that the man's not allowed to fornicate, and they pretty much say he better not fornicate and take that as a right. So they I hate to say it, but they will abuse that. But the men don't understand one thing about happy endings. This is one thing a lot of us men fail to understand, that they're not happy. That's what I said in the comments. These happy endings can't be happy. See, before I became Muslim, I don't remember exactly how long before it was, but I happened to see somebody else Uh, I happened to be in one yard and see somebody else doing something like this in another yard. And I heard them talk about the price before they got busy. I mean, it was real quick. It was a quick transition from discussing price, him pulling out the money, and then she turned her back, and there you go. So for me seeing just that much, just me seeing them, when I saw what it was and I was sure of what I was seeing, I turned to leave, and some cats were on their way to rob him and came up on me and decided to try me first. Now, there was nothing to take, and it wasn't going to be as easy as what they thought. I was just lucky that I could think that quickly. But nonetheless, the point I'm making is that by being around it, just by being around that, you open yourself up. So imagine if you're actually involved in doing that. And see, Cardi B is a lesson. You think you're just gonna pay somebody with a body that you happen to see jiggling and wiggling and dancing, and you think that's gonna be the end of it, and you find you some relief. Most men actually have a hard time completing that kind of act with a stranger. It's not something that men can do very easily. The way you can learn is you can actually just listen on YouTube. No pornographic site. You can listen to interviews on YouTube, or you can just read text interviews of porn actors, and they'll tell you why it's difficult for men to get into that line of business. It's not that you just have these high barriers to entry and there's so many men so they just don't take them. It's more like they actually they'll tell you that it's not easy for men to pull everything off with these lights on and get busy with a stranger. The women have an easier time doing it than the men because of fewer moving parts. There's something in us that makes it hard to pull your junk out in front of people you don't know, especially a crowd of people. It's not
It's
something you
not
just start
natural.
off doing.
It's not natural.
It's not natural.
Yeah.
And that's why most people tend to perform this act, whether married or not. They tend to perform it in seclusion. And even then, it can be hard to pull it out in front of just that one lady you don't know. So what I'm saying is that there's a reason for this type of shyness. And one of them is one of them is the chastity, but the other one is because you understand you're in a vulnerable position. And that's the perfect time for someone to kick in a door that she knows with weapons and just take whatever it is that you've worked for,
You know
and
what?
take whatever you were not going to have to pay her.
You know what?
So, what better trap to use than sex? And men have to stop and think. Women, no matter how much they may want sex, they're going to use it as a tool and a trap in many cases, especially if they can and do it easily. And Cardi B should have been a lesson to men in general. And yet, and still, she wasn't, because men aren't trained for chastity, which is not encouraged to it.
Sahi,
That's all I'll say about that.
in full disclosure, back in my jahili, I had uh, I had several girlfriends at one time. Even when I got one of the times I got shot, they bumped heads in the waiting area. You know, waiting to see me, and their mom, some of their moms were with them. You know, so that became a spectacle until I actually came out. You know, and said, hey, I came out with my IV and everything. I said, hey, calm it down. You know, we ain't having that. You know, if you don't want to be here, you're welcome to leave. And that's how I ended that. But nevertheless, one of my girlfriends, she would do anything that I said. You know, well, several of them would, but this one in particular, uh, well, this is a military town, so I'm not going to incriminate myself, but I'll say that a lot of these soldiers were known to be horn dogs, and they would readily any girl that says hello, they would get put them in the car and drive them around. So you know what you do, you rent a hotel room, and you have the soldier go back to the hotel room with the girl. She leaves the door unlocked. Next thing you know, we bust him with the duct tape, you know, wrap him up, you know, take his identification and his money, and tell him if he tells anyone, we'll tell the military. The military gonna know that you were with a prostitute, you know, which is bad for them. So again, uh, this is the weakness of a man and the manipulation of a woman. In this case, it's us men manipulating a woman to manipulate men. That's why we cannot, you know, we cannot show this weakness. Even if we have it, we cannot show this weakness. We have to remain stern and steadfast and hang around those that can support us in that. Now, Brother Matik McCall brought in a very it's an Islamic perspective, and it's an Islamic conundrum. There are brothers, like he mentioned, there are brothers that are taking the $40 hollers over $40,000 dowries. Now, this is one of the issues that we've been discussing lately, and I'm always discussing it off and on. How even during the time of Omar radiallahu anh, when he heard about a high dowry, he said, "This is adar. This is a potential harm that could afflict the ummah in a negative way, because marriage was something that saved the ummah from zina, you know, and disease. Because Muhammad SAW said, when zina is prevalent, new diseases will derive and occur. So these sisters that never seen 40,000 in their lives, never seen 10,000 at one time in their lives, are asking that much for a dowry, and they got brothers that are not as strong and don't have the support system that are choosing the $40 option. And this is really inflicting us as an ummah, and it should not be so. I'll mention this last thing. One thing we learned while studying the system, the Nizam al-Islam, or the system of Islam, one thing we learned is that the Khalifa needs to be paid very well. The leader of the Muslims, our Khalifa, should be paid very well. What does this do when you're paid very well and your family is not need to struggle? What does this do? First of all, what it does is that it gives you undivided attention upon the affairs of the state, of the Khilafah. It gives you undivided attention on the affairs of the state, because you don't need to go out and work a side job in order to make ends meet at home. Also, it lessens the chance, it prevents the chance of you being influenced or bribed. So this was the logic from our shuyukh that told us that when Islam comes back, the Khalifa should be paid very well, comparable, paid very well. Because the president is not paid that much. What they get, 400,000 now, 200,000,
Yeah,
400,000 in
about
the United States, something like that.
Yeah, about 450 grand.
Yes, so they're not they're paying 400,000. They're not being paid like even some of the leaders overseas. But they get kickbacks and cutbacks, and there's a lot of things that come with that. They can what do you call it? They can extort money from all around the world as a U.S. president. You can extort money from almost every leader upon this earth. But nevertheless, when you make $40, the $40 holler, you make that preferable to paying a dowry that's well out of your league. Like I mentioned, some of us are just of the ability to pay to move a woman in and take care of her comfortably, but we don't have 10,000 to throw at her in order to purchase her, in order to take care of her the next day. We don't have it. We don't have it, and I don't think a man should be put under that type of pressure. Omar radiallahu anh was against it. It is not found within the Sunnah, and the better women, the best women that we know ever to exist of mankind, got far less than that. None of them top 2,000 even. By the U.S. dollar standards is what I'm using right now. By comparison, they didn't top 2,000.
Yes, sir.
So again, that's another subject, but we're talking about solution toward men putting themselves in these spaces to receive and be under these allegations. It's not a good space. It's the gender war will rage on, and men will continually be against women. Women will be against men, and that's not a fight that I want to have. I've never met a woman that can whoop me. I've seen MMA women. I say she can't whoop me. I'm a whole man. I'm a whole man. So again, our natural enemy is not women. Women's natural enemy are women. Subhanallah. Our natural enemies are not women, so we need to come to a treaties. We need to come to a solution and a peace treaty with the women, that we will do what Allah Ta'ala and His Messenger ordered us to do, and you will do what Allah and His Messenger ordered you to do. And by that, it's like a well-greased wheel, well-oiled wheel. It will function, in turn, in succession.
If they can come to that in the West, there could be room for a treaty. The thing is that I want to be as optimistic as you. I'm not capable of it, but I do want to be as optimistic as you. Across the border from where I am now, you can drive down a highway a little ways, and then you'll get into Saudi. And I was there. I was in Saudi this weekend, going to Medina. We just Wife and I just got back yesterday evening, actually. But here, you can learn a good bit about what goes on across the border. And one of the things that they told me happened was that a long time ago, Saudi men were able to go to countries where they could afford the dowries and they could get married. And that especially the urban ones were more willing to do so because they were not as stuck on Bedouin traditions. So they were willing to do so and marry. They were willing to marry Yemenis, Iraqis, Egyptians, Jordanians, Syrians, women from nations that they just didn't have a lot of money.
Yes.
And so therefore, they were a catch for these ladies, and the dowries were a catch for these men. The women, even there in Saudi, the women did not understand that what they needed to do was go down on these cuss word dowries. Now, there were a lot of women that actually they weren't greedy when it came to that, but their fathers were, their brothers were.
Yes.
I've said before, the only thing that I'm willing to accept accountability for on behalf of men is making things too easy. When we have daughters, and you're a girl dad, so you understand. Certainly, we love them, and we can be nicer to them in some ways than we can be to our sons. But fair is fair. And if your son can't afford to get married, and he's working, but he can't afford to get married, and he can't save up to get married while he is young, then that might mean that you got to go ahead and let the daughter decide her own dowry instead of you and your son's trying to decide her dowry for her. Because if we leave the dowry to the ladies to set, they want to get married too, and they're going to understand that's actually a good way to teach them economics. But it hasn't been done because we as girl dads oftentimes make this mistake of saying we're going to spoil our babies. And the thing is, they may be special to us, but they got to learn, just like we teach our sons, you're special to us, but you ain't special to the rest of the world. And the rest of the world's not special to you. See, we're willing to teach our sons lessons we're not willing to teach our daughters, but both of them are going to have to learn them in order for marriages to continue and work and have a chance at success. They're not guaranteed if they do learn these things. But we're sitting up and we're not telling these daughters things that our wives don't want them to hear. And that's where we have screwed up. Whether we're doing it because we love the daughters or we fear the wives, whatever the case is, that's something we're messing up. And that's part of why this lady felt comfortable going and saying that you touched the kid the wrong way because you didn't pay a cell phone bill. And I believe your side of the story. I only got your side, but I believe it because we're hearing about this so often. And it's men like you that they feel comfortable lying on like this. And you got a chance to see why these other three men abandoned her and them babies, abandoned their own babies with her. They had to. She's that toxic. She ran them off. And it took a while for her, and then she showed it to you. But they have a right to ask what they want. But it's like you have a right to ask what you want when you hit the job market. When you go looking for work, you can ask for any salary you want. They're going to look at you and say, we can't pay you that, and negotiation's over. And they'll find someone else to apply, but you got to go out and look for another gig. Exactly. Or start your own business. Exactly. Well, you see, we're not saying to these ladies, okay, you know what? Not only do I not have it, I'm never going to have it. Don't even say maybe, inshallah, he'll give you this. Don't even say that. Allah has never walked around the earth passing out money to righteous men so that they could have more money than the wicked. He's never done that. Every time the righteous have had more than the wicked, they've had to fight for it, had to take it by force sometimes, or be a more clever business or something of that nature. But it's not automatically like that. So
you know what hurts us?
What's that?
What hurts us is when men break ranks and start pandering to women. When men break ranks, I would like a dude that panders to women and breaks the rank. I would like him to pay that dowry. I want to see him pay that dowry. Because when you break ranks, it's the same with, I'm a plumber, electrician, I'm a builder, okay? I know all three of those trades, okay? I'm not so good with brick or concrete, but I know all the other trades, okay? And I put in a toilet years ago for a store owner, a Muslim store owner. I put in a toilet for $50. I took the old toilet out and I put a new toilet in for $50. And this one brother who's a licensed plumber, he's actually from Kuwait, Brother Ahmed. He said, uh, "Brother, did you put that toilet in for $50?" I said, "Yeah." Took me 30 minutes, man. You know, maybe not even that much. 15 minutes maybe. He said, "Don't do that. Don't put a toilet in for $50." He said, "I charge $150." He said, "You're messing up the market." And I had to take my lesson. Another instance, I'm riding around with a guy back then when the Lincoln Navigator was a big thing, right? He had this Lincoln Navigator, you know, and I'm riding with him, electrician, licensed master electrician, worked for the railroad. And he said, "How much you charging these people, these Muslim couple, to wire their home?" I said, $1,000. He said, "You'll never drive one of these." I was younger then, you know, and these guys were lacing me up. "Dude, you killing the game." And the same with these brothers that tell sisters, "Yeah, you deserve whatever you ask for." Well, I only know one type of woman that has a price tag that asks for money. I only know one woman that puts a value on herself. You know what I'm saying? I only know one type of woman that does that. As far as a Muslim woman, if you say, "I'm gonna teach you three surah of Quran, three of your favorite surah," that's sufficient Islamically. An iron ring is sufficient. An izar, you know, if you have another one without being naked, an izar is sufficient. We know this from the Sunnah of the Rasul Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. But these brothers that are saying, "Yeah, a sister can ask for whatever," pay it. Pay it. I need you to pay it, bro. Because you're killing the game, man. You're killing the plumbing game. You're killing the electrician game. You're killing it by pandering and saying they deserve that high dollar. These women are serially single. They're serially single. They have not gotten married. And when they did get married, did you see them advertise their dowry? Did you see them brag about how much they got? Because they didn't get it. And just like Brother Amo Yusuf, I want him to come on the show one time because he has a lot of strong opinions this way, you know. And even he's Bengali, born and raised in Saudi, you know. So again,
Mhm.
the issue is he made a very intelligent statement. He said that she doesn't want you. If she's asking you for thousands of dollars for a dowry, she doesn't want you. She doesn't like you. Because when women like men, they don't ask for that. How many bum dudes that women like, they're passing up good men for the bum? How many times, bro? They don't like you. That's
We've
why
lost,
why the dowry's so high.
and that's what men have to understand. That when that's requested of you, um, the only way she likes you and is requesting that is if she's just still more materialistic than she is interested in you.
Yes.
And you can still take that as evidence that she doesn't like you enough. Because the fact is that, see, Allah's created an abundance of beautiful women and even men that look the way that women want men to look. He's created an abundance of them. Although women do tend to find fewer men attractive than men will find women attractive, the point is that he's made an abundance of that. When it comes to these things that they ask for, he has not put he's not put an abundance of that, at least not above the surface of the ground. All the precious metals, the high value items, they're usually underground and they're hard to get to. And if you extract enough of them, you're probably going to do some damage to the nearby natural environment. That's it. That's the best deal that Allah is going to give us in many cases. So that's part of why I say that if we let the ladies select the dowries, they will then have to come to something that is reasonable according to the economy where they are. They can ask for what they want. They also have to deal with the realities of what's available, just like we men do. We can ask, but we got to deal with the realities of what's available. So when it's all said and done, I want to point out the difference between the men who break ranks and the Western ladies who break ranks. Have you noticed the difference between them?
Yes, yes. The women that are breaking ranks with the other women is what you're saying.
Yes, sir. Yes. Have you noticed the difference between the Western lady that breaks ranks with other women and the Western man who breaks ranks with other men?
Explain that.
Look how normal Otherwise, other than breaking ranks, look how normal the men are. They don't even have to be low value men. They don't have to be ugly men. As a matter of fact, ugly men they might sit up and say, "I'm not finna pander to them. I know better than it. It doesn't work. At the end of the day, I still look how I look to them." But they don't even have to be short to pander. The men that pander don't have to be low value on the market in order to pander. The
Okay.
Western woman that does break ranks with the other women usually perceives some kind of lesser value, or she's simply been taught better from a young age. But usually, and we know it's normally because of just some lesser value, either being too big or even too little in some cultures. Point is that when the Western woman does break ranks, you begin to see why they break the ranks. There's something even about themselves that they perceive as being less valuable. Not that they're not arrogant per se, but it goes even beyond that. It's like there's something about themselves they feel bad about, like they can't compete with the other ladies except to do it. If they feel they can compete without breaking ranks, they don't break ranks, and they don't like each other. We know that. They understand each other and they hate each other. So there's no other motive for them to not break ranks in the first place except some kind of I forgot the word, resentment towards men. There's something that they got against men just naturally.
Mm.
And so we have to, I don't know what it is, and I don't really care. The thing we can do as men is, and this is where passports and hijra do come into play. If you're a man, you can get a passport, get one. And you can go somewhere where you can afford them dowries, go there. I even tell disbelieving men, if you can afford a marriage and to take care of someone in another economy, another environment, do that and don't import her back stateside Canada, the UK, or other Western European countries, or Australia or New Zealand. Don't import them back into the so-called first world nations. Stay there, go there as often as you can. Maybe let them set up a business over time with your earnings. Um, but do not stay where you are as long as the ladies are acting like this. We got to make it to where we only reward the ones who come to us with some sense, because women don't have to act like children. They're capable of acting like adults. They're just not doing it in the West because nobody's making them do it. Like you said, too many normal men are breaking ranks. Normal and even high value men are breaking ranks. And your idea is good. Thank you for that. Next time they say, well, she can ask for whatever we want, we can say, yes, she can ask. But how about you pay it since you have it?
Yeah, you pay it. You know,
Exactly.
that brings me to hubris. These individuals, and I know we started out talking about Mayor Cuomo and Deshaun Watson, and we'll get back there briefly to sum it up. But the hubris, it kills me. I've told people, that you overvalue yourself. I've told men and women that you overvalue yourself. You say the women are the cream of the crop. They are the salt of the earth. They are this, they are that. Yes, I love them. I love women. Look, head to toe. I have no complaints. Bald head, long hair. I have no complaints. You know, I've seen heavy attractive women. I've seen skinny attractive women. Women are wonderful in general. But I knew a woman that had 5, 6 kids by, I think all the guys were kuffar. And she was Muslim. I think all the guys were kuffar. Or at least the first ones were Muslim. And then she went and had a few kids by kuffar. Then she came back to Islam, so to speak. I call it back to Shahada. I don't call it back to Islam. So guess what she wanted for Mahar, Yahi? She wanted a house and she wanted Hajj. First of all, what man just buys you a house? What trick daddy just buys you a house? You know, shouldn't we live together? Shouldn't that be my house you're living in? I'm the man. Why do I have to buy you a house? Do you plan on staying around after the mortgage is paid? This is the question I would ask. And you won't Hajj. Why are you asking for something you can't afford on your own? The sadaq is a free gift. When has it become a price tag? If I buy you a house, I own you. If I own you, I'm going to own the house subsequently. And this is the problem that we have, this hubris. People are overvaluing themselves. Now you might say, "Oh, just because she got 5 kids, she is worth a house." And bruh, maybe we don't know the same individuals. You cannot overvalue yourselves, and you cannot treat the sadaq as a price tag. This is my contention.
Well, if you look at what what's going on even amongst the non-Muslims right now, this is indicative. What's happening between us is actually already what's going on outside of our communities. Men are undervalued. The women are overvalued. I'm talking mostly in the West.
Yes.
And so it's part of why I've said that we're going to have to start practicing hijrah more as best as possible. If you don't have the option to leave, then you look for someone maybe where you are, but from a culture that knows how to treat you. And it's important to reward them for that good treatment too. But and in a way that others can see it, not necessarily expensively, but just in a way that others can see it. However, if you have the option to get out and marry and keep her there, but of course, in taking care of her according to her rights, but keep her there, then that's the best thing to do. This is something that brothers are going to have to do because even non-Muslim men are understanding this, and this is part of hijrah, or it's similar to hijrah in that regard. So we'd have to understand that because the only thing that's going to drive up the value of men is going to be absence.
Yes.
I was listening to a live stream almost a year ago. And matter of fact, this month it might be about a year ago. And there was a lady and gentlemen listening are going to know. Her name is Danielle George. And she was on a live stream with several people. One of them is a guy that we know, BGS Ibmore, that's his screen name. And she said, point blank, black women ain't gonna change until you black men prove you can leave. She didn't know that there are already, you could say, communities of black men that have done exactly that. Some have left the West and they stay with black women, but not Western black women. Others have left altogether and they're not with Western women, black or white, period. And so the point I'm making is that she didn't understand that that process had already begun and there are online communities of this. I'm one of them. I didn't leave for that reason, but when I left, I found out by chance how much better of a deal we get outside the West and how bad of a deal we get in the West. I was in North Africa the first time. I told you that I was in North Africa the first time I actually felt valued, like I was worth something. And I really couldn't look and say, well, she was only doing this because her first husband died. She had 3 kids because I also have my own 3. So I couldn't sit up and say that that's all it was, because eventually you could tell. But then later on, third time around for me, this time around, again, I'm being treated like I matter. I'm being treated like I'm important. And so I can return the favor. But in the West, we don't have enough men that are looking at what's going on and saying, okay, wait, this isn't fair. Because we're told not to complain about something being unfair as men and then as black men on top of that. So black Muslim men are not much different in that regard. We're taught, be a man, it's unfair, deal with it. Shuck that fit. It's unfair. And they have the ability to make it fair. No, you drop them like a bad habit and you go somewhere where you're going to be treated more fairly. And some of them may say, well, it's long distance. Yeah, but being where you are in the same city with someone like, okay, let's take someone like that sister out of Cleveland that was bragging about scamming brothers. Do you remember her?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Being in the same city with her, even if you marry someone like that with that attitude, I know from experience, it's the same thing as being in a long distance relationship or a long distance marriage. It's pretty much the same thing. You can get someone that's better than her and you still wind up with that feeling, because I was married to someone that wasn't half as toxic as that sister. And yet, and still, it was the same thing.
Yeah.
And you get older and you're with someone that's like that, you can actually get used to being alone while you're married. You're still alone so much, like a single man. You get used to being alone and single that you could get to a point where you don't want to get married and you don't know if you even could adjust to it. It can get to that if you get too old and too accustomed. I was afraid it was going to happen to me, but fortunately, I was able to adjust to being married again, and I'm glad about it.
You know, I
But
made a
men
statement.
are just
I made a statement last night on the Amo Yum Yum podcast, where I stated that we need to change this women are the prize and start saying that men are the prize, which is rightfully so. If someone says you're on a game show and someone says the prize is a house and a car, you know, and security, and you give the right answer, you get a house, car, and security. Is that not a prize? Yes, it's a prize. If they give you a lifetime of soap, that's a prize. What are the men getting from the women? You know, what are the men getting from the women? We're getting access to her vagina, okay? And if you have one that has any type of homemaking skills or raised correctly by grandma or mama or whatever, you know, you get some housekeeping skills and this and this and that. And you, if she's fertile, you know, you can get some children out of that, and you know, and so on and so forth. But nevertheless, men are actually the prize. We're the ones providing the home, the car, and the protection. Men are the prize. Women are not the prize. When we change it up and we flip it on them and we say happy husband, happy life, this is a man that can function better. He functions around the house better for his chores and maintenance of the home. He functions better on all different kinds of levels when he's happy. But if your only aim is to make him miserable and to bank off of him, then he's not going to make you happy, because he's constantly looking. He's rubbernecking everything that passes by, looking for something to replace you because you make him miserable. So men need to be looked at as the prize by women, and men need to look at themselves first and foremost as the prize. And we need to start coining the phrase happy husband, happy life. You know, not happy wife, happy life. What man caters to women like that? What kingdom has stood the test of time and opposing forces that catered to women? It does not exist. So we need to change that up.
We're going to have to change that up, and we're going to have to do what you said. We're going to have to show that we can leave in large numbers. I mean, she pretty much said it. She gave the game, just like those gentlemen laced you up about your trades and your skills. She was giving up the game. She was pretty much saying exactly what I said before. You've made it too easy.
Exactly. And that is getting back to Mayor Cuomo. Again, he's a man. He's a high value man. He's wealthy. He's the king. Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother Sabr, brother Matik, brother Qasim. You know, he's the king of New York. He's flirty. We men are flirty. If chivalry is dead, women killed it with the Me Too. Everybody's a victim now. Everybody's a victim. You know, us men would die for you women. This is why some generals argued against having women in the military. They say because when John Doe falls, one man goes and retrieves him. If Susie Q falls, you're going to have 10 men trying to help her. You know? And they say this messes up the war dynamic in the what do you say? The objective of breaking stuff and killing people. You know? This was what the American war objective is, breaking stuff and killing people just from their own mouths. So when women are involved in it, men tend to cater. They tend to pander. But if we stood up as actual men, you know, and didn't lessen the weight requirement for women, didn't lessen the obstacle course for women, we didn't lessen how much a fire woman had to carry on her back the same as a man. If we didn't make women go through the same rigmarole that police men have to go through in order to earn their badge, you know, things like that. If we didn't shorten the basketball games for the women and made it just as long as the men. Matter of fact, got rid of the WNBA, just make it NBA. Get rid. Serena Williams said she would be ranked about 300 if she played against men. She said men tennis. This is Serena Williams, the greatest ever. She said men tennis should be even called a different sport than women's tennis. They're stronger, they're faster. I cannot return their serves. And this is the big problem that we have. No, no, no. We shouldn't say this. What the feminists. We shouldn't say women's tennis. We should just say tennis. Okay, let's get rid of women's tennis. Let's get rid of PGA. Let's get rid of all this. Put the women on the men's tees. Let's do that. Let's get rid of lingerie football and put some pads on them and put them in there with the men.
Well, there was a lady boxer who boxed against a trans lady or a lady identifying as a man.
The MMA. Right?
I think so. I forgot how many years.
It's a man. Fallon Fox is a man who hid the fact that he had junk, junk in the trunk, or junk in the front, excuse me. He hid the fact and fought women and fractured two brains. Fractured two skulls already of women.
Yeah, you see, even the bone density,
yes,
and the thickness of the skull and the bone density itself is different, and it's not their fault. And we've got to stop. Not we, but they've got to stop blaming themselves for being the way that they were made. It's not their fault that they don't have these things. Yeah. It's not like Allah's going to call them to account and say, well, how come you didn't get the bone density and the skull thickness of a man and the muscle mass of a man? He's not going to press them like that. That's something he's going to do. But we have to understand if they think that they're deficient or they're blaming themselves, so to speak, for not having these things while still demanding that we don't, then what does that show you that they think about Allah, first off? And maybe it was Fallon Fox, but the thing was that one of the ladies that boxed against him said, I have never known a woman that strong. I didn't think that a person could be this strong. And so we're looking at a scenario in which they just want to show us up. Granted, doing that, in whichever way they show you up, they lose respect for you. Even if they're just better bowlers than you are, they lose respect for you because they're taught to look for a reason to disqualify you and lose respect for you. They're trained to do this. So we're not going to be able to convince all these single moms to stop telling their daughters this stuff. We don't have any jurisdiction over them. They ain't gonna stop passing this on. What we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to reach out to young males, and I'm talking about to hit middle school, and let them know how the game is rigged and how male chastity is perfectly fine. And it's even if they can't get none in high school, that's not even their fault. It's just the way some of it is nature, but then also it's the way that the teaching and the nature of women's been exaggerated. That it's a false standard to burden yourself with. And that even if you do, it doesn't say much about you because you're still dealing with a low quality culture of women. And then we also got to tell these cats, look, you don't have to not love. If your mom's raising you by herself, you don't have to not love her, but you got to be willing to not continue anything that could, or not do anything that could continue this cycle. You got to be willing to not even have accidental kids you don't know about. You got to be willing to only possibly have them within a marriage. And that you don't have to stay and tolerate the way that the conditions under which they want you to get married in the West. You need to know it's a rigged game, and it's perfectly okay for you to be chaste. And that means don't get none and don't accept none while you're young, or at least let's say while you're in high school. And then when you get a job and you save up something, you bounce, and that's how you start your family. Because see, right now there's no penalty. Like women don't see, the Western woman doesn't see any penalty. They don't see it till they get old. They're always getting attention from these men, and they don't see it until they begin to lose the attention. Well, at that point, it's too late. They done hit the wall. So the only thing that's really going to stop them is when they begin to see at a younger age, more and more of these women, old, bitter, can't find nobody. And their own brothers and sons are like, yeah, of course they're not going to be able to find nobody. They should have got someone while they were younger, and they should have got a man while he was younger and didn't have nothing. They're asking too much and offering too little. I'm not stupid, and you can't convince me to think like you or to think like her, Mom. So no, I have a right to my own preferences, and that's what I'm going to get within reason. And she can want what she wants, but just like I said, it's like the job market. You can ask for the salary you want, but they'll look at you and say, yeah, we don't have that. Next. And we got to do that same thing with them. They start talking about what they want, what they're entitled to. We're going to have to say, I don't have it. And if I did, I wouldn't be using it as a dowry. I would be using it to take care of us in general. But, we're not.
I love
Go
my
ahead, sir. I'm
mom.
sorry.
I love my mom, and she did the best she could as a single mom. But she was chronically single for her own fault, and she has returned, to Allah Taala, and he would deal with her accordingly. But nevertheless, she was single to her own fault. And again, I love my mom. The reason I met my dad when I was 20 and grew up without a dad was my mom, and I love my mom. I see a lot of women going through the same thing. They are giving us a raw deal, an average vagina. A raw deal, average vagina. I call it Arby's. I call, how the Arby's meat hang off the bun. I call it Arby's because
Hmm.
it's been through too much for you to be giving me virgin incentives. Let's keep it real. I'm used
Yeah.
goods. But Allah has made the man viral till way late in his lifespan. You know, I can die able to have kids, die dead, and at the point when I died, I was still able to have kids. That's a possibility with men, not with women. The shelf life is short. So therefore, as others in the manosphere, which I'm not part of, but I am a man, have stated that they waste their high quality years trying to get a degree seeking independence of a man. Then, after they have their degree and they are established, they can't find a man. Get it while you're young and while you're fertile. Get married while you're young and fertile, while your marketplace value is high. Then after you have and give him a couple of kids to succeed him, then after that, go get your career. That should be the pattern, which is very close to Islam. Okay, far as advice is concerned, that would be considered good nasihat. Because what they do is that they put themselves in university. A lot of them become we hear about a lot of them doing the lesbian thing until they graduate. Then they jump on a man. This white, black, whoever. Then you also hear about them doing anal until they graduate because they want to marry a virgin vaginally. You hear about all this stuff, man. It's too much going on. It's too much going on. At the end of the day, they are practicing hubris. They're overvaluing themselves, and they need to bring it back down. They want us to marry for deen, but they marry for money. Have you noticed?
Yes, exactly. I have noticed. And that's part of what I was talking about, overvaluing themselves and undervaluing the men. Pretty much they want to take and not give. They want the gain without cost. I mean, they want the gains without loss and the benefits without the cost. Now, we all want that because we're human. It's just human nature where the two major vices of human beings are laziness and greed. We want to own a lot, but we don't want to work a lot. And each one of those instincts has its place. Laziness stops you from wasting effort, and wanting to own a lot keeps you it keeps you from pretty much, I guess, dying naked of starvation and no water. But the difference is that we've created a situation in which they feel comfortable demanding and expecting this. And again, then they want to turn around and say, well, you men, this, that, and the other. No, no, it's the men that you all want. It's the same few men that all of y'all want and wind up sharing whether you wanted to share them or not, because you all wanted these same few men. You insisted on these same few men. So it's not about men, it's about what you were looking for, what you insisted on. Not you, but meaning the ladies.
Yes.
So they have they've been able to do this again only because we've made it too easy. The one flaw of men has been that we've made it too easy, and we didn't turn around and say, "Wait, hold up, what you bringing?" Now, I think that you're in your 30s, right?
SubhanAllah. I'll be 51 on the 11th.
Lord have mercy. Okay. Well, sorry about that. I didn't know you were 51. I thought 40s at the most. And so I'm almost a decade younger than you. I'm in my 40s. But I can remember when I was coming up. And you're gonna be able to remember this because it was definitely a thing back then too when you were coming up. And that is when you have some of these old heads that will tell you, don't never turn down none, don't never be scared of it, take what you can get, it's your job. You've heard them say this stuff.
Yeah.
And I heard that. Um, there was never a concept really of like male chastity. Only thing a male was allowed to say no to was another dude, pretty much. Maybe a woman that's related to him or something like that, and kids, just underage. So other than that, you weren't really allowed to say no. And my father grew up not too far from San Antonio, not too long of a drive from there, and he told me something similar. He said when he was coming up, and it was the hood that was the understanding. It was okay for women to say or the girls to say no. It wasn't okay for the dudes.
Yeah.
And so we've we perpetuated our own under or our own devaluation to a certain extent. Whatever the reason is, now the youth are paying for it. Younger, we're paying, and younger cats are paying for it. And so it's going to be our job as guys our age to tell these young cats, and I mean young enough to where their mothers don't like it, young enough to where their mothers are going to say you're indoctrinating them and brainwashing them. That's when you know that he's young enough. We got to say to them, you know what, bro, zip it up, and don't just pass it out like candy. Matter of fact, don't even trust anybody like that. Why should you? If you have to prove that you're trustworthy with her private parts, why should you trust her with yours? What is she so paranoid about that? What does she even know about that makes her paranoid? She's projecting. That's why. You're the one that has every right to say, no, 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 not doing that. Why should I even trust you like that? We're not married. I can't even trust you to like tell me if you even have a kid, or tell me if it wasn't mine. You know, when it comes down to, we gotta let them know that really it's not these men walking around that are automatically untrustworthy because they're guys like that. They've been taught to think. It's actually the reverse.
You
We
know the
gotta,
Islamic
we're the
standard.
ones.
The Islamic standard.
That's
Uh, one of the prerequisites before divorce is to separate the bed. You know, in case of
mhm.
shoes or disloyalty, ill conduct, what have you. Uh, and one sister said putting your finger in a man's face and bucking him and trying to fight him. She said that's not anu shoes. Subhanallah. She thinks that's acceptable, you know, but he can't put an elbow on him. But nevertheless, this issue, Allah says separate the beds. Of course, the ulama said you can turn your back to them. It has the same effect and it fulfills the command. But not necessarily leaving the bed, going to the couch or what have you, or to the guest room. But nevertheless, men have become so weak these days. We take that as a punishment upon ourselves. But we have to understand women. My mother told me long ago. She said, if you want to hurt a woman, you don't hit her. She said, you ignore her, walk away. Ignore her and walk away. Very sound advice. You know why? Because I used it. I used it. I make myself scarce. They eventually come back. They eventually come back. If there's anything there to be salvaged, they eventually come back. What I wanted to do was I want to mention something to you while you're here. I have three topics I think that you would like in the future, near future, inshallah ta'ala. Is that uh, that ain't what my DMs say. I've heard this before. I would tell women that in your state, in your condition, you are not among the most desirable of women to men. And I'm not talking about physically, I'm not talking about anything. I'm talking about attitude, knowledge of deen, application of deen, and attitude, you know, and well, I mentioned attitude. Subhanallah. I want to say that twice. Okay. I said you're not in age also, okay, and level of infertility. I've mentioned that. You know, you say you don't beat women, subhanAllah, with fists, you beat them with other women, mashallah. So so it said, so the title is That Ain't What My DMs Say. The Deception of Artificial Time and Attention. These brothers, again, breaking ranks, telling women how beautiful they are, so on and so forth. We know what they ultimately want, and it's not to pay their bills. Them brothers don't, ooh, look at her. I would love to pay her bills. That's not the way these brothers think. These brothers want something, you know, on the Deshaun Watson level or the Mayor Cuomo level, which, I don't mean to throw them out like that, but they put themselves in those spaces, and that's the only thing they're guilty of, is allowing themselves to be manipulated and accused. So I think you'll be good to address that one about, that ain't what my DMs say. They are putting their value or their desirability among the men. They're putting it based on the artificial time and attention they're getting through their DMs. The other one is uh, prenup versus pre-iman. Prenup versus pre-iman. Is are prenups a thing, or should they be a thing for even us Muslims? I think that warrants discussion. And the last one I thought about you is I spoke to you about it before. Fact or false? Ratchets should only marry interracially. Now we know that stems from the Christian, the enslavement of the pilgrims on the African and the Mexican and the Asian, the Chinese. It stems from that they only admire people of they refuse to submit. So I say ratchets. They refuse to submit and be wifely to the slave, the field slave. They refuse to be, but they'll do it for massa inside the house. So I say, well, then marry massa, because Islam, we're not limited. Black men are not limited to black women, and black women are not limited to black men. And when I say ratchets, I'm not just talking about black, because a lot of people, because of customs and the hip hop generation, so on and so forth, have fell into ratchetness. You got Mexican and white women talking about WAP. No, that's called vagina. That's called functional vagina. Premenopausal. That's what that's called. Stop bragging about, you should say Alhamdulillah instead of making a whole song. Your song should have been Alhamdulillah. My vagina lubricates. It shouldn't have been WAP. But nevertheless, they should only marry interracially if they can't tone it down, because what we notice is that they can be ghetto, ratchet, aggressive, everything. When they marry outside of their race, they tend to calm it down. So marry Thomas Jefferson. Marry Thomas Jefferson if you can't deal with Leroy. So I think that would be a good topic to delve into. Like I said, Islam doesn't limit them to one race, but inshallah, that's something for the future. But again, to close out, Mayor Cuomo, innocent. Deshaun Watson, innocent. If they're guilty of anything, it's putting themselves in spaces where they can be accused. Okay? That's the only thing they're guilty of, and that's not a crime according to kufr law. It's frowned upon in Islam to put yourself in a position where the shaitan is the third with you and a strange woman. But it's not a punishable crime in Islam, and it's not even a crime in kufr. So that's my final take on that. Any last words, inshallah?
I think the one you talked to me about, the one of the three topics, was that ain't what my DMs say.
Yeah.
I actually came in prepared today in case you went to that topic, but it is true that women have to separate the different types of attention they get, and to a certain extent, they separate the types of attention that they get based on how much they like the man, and also based on how many other women pay that same man attention. Even more than their own individual preferences, they base the attention from a man on how much attention he already gets from other women that they know about. So they're going to do this, but what they're doing really is just bragging. We have to keep in mind that most of what they're doing in the West is a childish form of submitting to peer pressure. A lot of the stuff happens in the hair salons. My mom told me what was going on in the hair salons back in 99 and 2000, to the point she was making appointments for outside of its normal hours, because she was tired of being around these ratchets. They just weren't calling themselves that back then. But they're going to do this because they got to brag. They just got to validate themselves one way or another. And they're just not willing to accept the limits of what's been created, and the limits of what's available to them. They're just not willing to deal with that. So they got to sit up and say this. I mean, even even the one bragging about scamming cats in Cleveland, mentioned something about colorism. That was how I found her page. She mentioned something about colorism. I had just gotten through covering this several times, so I said, listen, if you are going to discuss it, you can come on my show. You don't have to answer by voice for reasons of privacy, but you can just answer and say that you don't mind going on the show, or you wouldn't want to. She never answered, and that's fine.
Light
I said
skin, fake
specifically,
contacts. Is that the one you're talking about? Light skin, fake
well,
contact.
I'm not sure about the contacts, but the eye color does look unnatural.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they
A
were
sister,
contacting.
a sister from Afghanistan pointed out. She said those eyes are not real. I said, how do you tell? And she showed me this is what contacts do. This is how the natural eye looks. Because I never bothered. I didn't like the foul language that emanates from her tongue. You know, so I never bothered
Yeah,
to really look at her picture or blow it up or expand it. She said, look at the eyes. She actually DM'd me a picture close up of her eye. She said, this is a context clearly. It's not her natural eye color. You know,
gotcha.
and that's
So
deception
okay.
within itself. Yes, I think we're talking about the same person.
Well, look, the eye color looked unnatural to me. I'm partially colorblind, but it looked unnatural to me too. So I'm not surprised. But when I called out her for bragging about scamming dudes out of money, I didn't call her out by name, but I simply said, "Look, you bragged about it. If you were joking, just say you were joking. I'm not gonna say nothing. But brothers have a right to know if you're serious, that you think this is okay to do. They have a right to know this because they can save that money on someone they can actually marry." And she was like, "Go ahead and call me out. I dare you." So I still didn't call her out by name, but somebody else went to her and said, "He talking about you." Now, someone said, "Is this the one asking about me?" Another lady said to her, "Is this the one you said was in your DMs?" Mind you, if she really thought I was trying to get with her, what would
Yeah,
she have done by her own confession? She would have tried to scam me out of money like these other cats.
exactly.
But because I said from the very beginning, I mean no harm, but I saw the post about colorism and you have an invitation to come and discuss it on the show in front of an audience on YouTube, because I said that, she understood that's not why I'm in them DMs. That's not it. And matter of fact, if she
She
knew
also
anything,
accused me of liking her, and I was disgusted by her. You know, I don't care what slave master raped your grandparents that made you that color. You know, I don't care about none of that. I don't care about what you go to lens crafters, you know, iPro or whatever lens place you go to get your contacts. That does not impress me. I don't like the foul speech. I find it to be very masculine. I'm not attracted to men. I like very feminine women. You know, that's my melting point. And one thing you
exactly.
got to understand about this woman right here, she's supported again by a man that breaks ranks. He's very
By
popular
men.
online. She's supported by a man who's married to more than one woman, not married to her. I don't know why he don't marry her. You know, she can add to his headaches. You know, but nevertheless, she's supported by a man. I'm not gonna mention his name. You know, I'm not afraid to mention his name, but she's actually supported. All of that she does is supported by a man. He's 100% behind all of this fitna. You know, he does a lot of haram online, but sometimes he opens up a soup kitchen, and that seems to cover for all the haram that he does, exposing Muslim sisters' aura online, taking photos of married women and unmarried sisters, uncovered, covered improperly, you know, and everything else that is posted online, and she's actually supported. So again, we have another one breaking ranks.
Do you mean financially supported or just moral support, morally
Moral
supported?
support, posting, kiki, ha ha, with that type of thing,
Gotcha.
instead of being utterly disgusted with the behavior.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, I understand. Yeah, I forgot his name, but I know who you mean.
Yeah.
And so yeah, she's getting that support. At first, I thought you meant financially, but you see, she okay. So she's one of
And serially single, serial
those.
single.
She ever finds that's good. That means that we're getting somewhere. That means that men are getting somewhere. All we got to do now is bring that same level of wisdom to younger cats, so that women like her stay single and they die virgins or they shape up and fly right.
Oh,
Those
oh, she
that they
won't
get
die a
only those
virgin.
options.
You can't have that foul mouth and that foul lifestyle and die a virgin. No, no, no. She'll get somebody to dip and skip, you know, smash and dash. You know what I'm saying? Hit and quit. She'll find somebody, and what happens is these types usually have children by randoms. They usually have randoms visiting in the wee hours. This is what these types do. They'll never find a man to commit. If he commits, he needs to be committed into an insane
Yes.
asylum.
Right, right. It would take a guy that doesn't know how she is to really feel okay with committing and not feel some kind of fear. But the
Stevie
thing is that the
Wonder,
point is
Stevie
get
Wonder,
well. It
brother.
would no. He would have to be deaf as well.
Oh, yeah, okay, well,
See,
I
but the
misspoke.
thing is that this is one of those that I mean, yeah, this is one of those type ladies. Now, some of these ladies like her don't understand that they actually condition men to stay away from them. Before I ever met her, before I heard her talk on that video and ever heard her voice, I was conditioned to stay away from women like that. So when she spoke, soon as she spoke on that video, when I heard it, I was like, oh, this is the one I've been conditioned to stay away from. It just so happened she was admitting to scamming dudes. But you see, there are more secrets that even Western Muslims are harboring from men. And we already know that a lot of the disbelieving women are not telling their sons, their nephews, their grandsons, their younger brothers, and their younger male cousins what women really want and what they'll do to men if they can get away with it. We know they're not doing it. But you think that the Western Muslim, if she knows what these things are as a Western woman, you think she'd tell the men in the family or, the nephew, the grandson, the son, younger brother, you think they would prepare them like men prepare their daughters for the worst types of men out there. Not because every man is that bad, but because you just want her to be prepared for the worst so that she knows to avoid them. And what we're finding out is the ladies ain't doing that. And so, and even the Western Muslims, and she's one of those. So if she wound, what I say that she needs to die a virgin, and I think she already has a kid. I don't know, but women like that
I
must
don't
die
think so
virgins.
unless you just recently had a Zanim child or something. I don't.
And I stand corrected then because it was just a rumor I heard and I had no proof of that. So she may not. But the thing is that someone like that should not have the opportunity until they shape up and fly right.
Yes.
And even then, for someone like that, shaping up and flying right should mean going to another city and starting over because she might have accused me, but I don't know. She, as you said, she did accuse you. She's already talked about scamming dudes. And notice in one video in which she was on that brother's video bragging about scamming dudes.
Yeah.
And on that video, there was another lady that called in and she proceeded to cuss that other lady out, thinking that this lady was going to snitch. The lady proceeded to talk about scamming, and then she apologized to that lady and said, my bad, sis, I thought you was about to snitch. Well, if she admitted to scamming the same way you did, then what other secret is there? It's
Yeah.
something deeper.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that the Western Muslims are participating in whatever the hell it is. This is why I say that the relationship between the genders is somewhere akin to a chess game with high stakes, like playing chess for your life, not just but playing chess for your life and your resources or a war. It's somewhere akin to that. They're in on something. And the Western Muslims know what it is, and they're in on the same thing, and that's why they're not spilling the beans. That's why they got friends that are disbelieving feminists and those that are ace boon coons and their buddies, and they don't care about the hypocrisy. Their friends that are feminists and disbelievers can sit up and tell you you're wrong for going and marrying a Latina, and I'm wrong for marrying an East African, and the next one's wrong because he married a woman from the Southern Philippines, and we found cooperation, and we can afford to be nice to them because they're nice to us. We're wrong for that. But then turn around, that same woman's got a husband from Southeastern Asia who's smaller and shorter than her, and they got a baby together. The Muslims have friends like this, and they're not calling them out. And that's why I say the gender relations have, even in the Muslim community in the West, they deteriorated to the point of a type of Cold War. They're in on it. I mean, they're in on something. And pretty much, I think what they want to do is take all your resources and have you raise other men's kids. I mean, you, me, and most men, they want us to spend all our resources raising the children of the few men they actually wanted to conceive children with in the first place.
Well, one
I
woman,
think that's what it is.
one sister gave herself up. We were in processes of talking years ago, and she said, I said, what is your maintenance? She said, well, I have a couple of kids, but don't worry about them. Their father, takes care of them, provides for them, so don't worry about them. When we figure out a budget for maintenance, because we were going to do the long distance thing for about a year. So she said, when I figure out the budget, I'll let you know. So she gave me a detailed list of the budget, and in that budget had her kids in it. I said, I thought you said you wouldn't calculate the children because their father takes care of them. She said, oh, well, I'm not going to argue about my kids. I don't do that. I'm not finna have that conversation. I'm like, well, they had the conversation, you know? So basically, whatever she started off with, trying to be mild mannered and well intended, no, no. She gave up the ghost. She gave it up when she gave me a list with her children's maintenance, within that list. After we already had that conversation. But I guess she was scamming so many brothers. You know what I'm saying? She lost count.
Mm-hmm.
She forgot that she already told me that. See? And that's why I really surprised her when I mentioned why are the kids in this budget.
Mm-hmm.
And of course,
Because
type of person
at
I am,
some point,
have no problem with taking care of orphan kids. Have no problem at all. But don't put it out there that their father's taking care of them, because see, the next step was going to happen. I'm finna start talking to her. Why aren't they with their father?
mm-hmm.
That might would have broke off the talks, but I get there, because I am a man, I am a Muslim, I may not fear Allah more than anyone else, but I fear Allah still, and I'm not going to be depriving a man of his right to take care of the children. If you tell me, look, Akhi, I'm not in a space where I can take care of these kids, it's best for them to stay with her. If I ever reach a different stratosphere financially, or my edifice or whatever, then, I'll ask for them and I say, well, they'll be ready for you. You know, I understand
Yeah.
that conversation. I'm not given that courtesy Islamically, but I'm willing to to forward that courtesy to other brothers, because like I say, I may not fear Allah more than anyone else, but I fear Allah still. And this is the problem that we're going with. Other dudes breaking ranks, marrying women with children, not sending them to their fathers, breaking ranks.
Well, the thing is that there's one kind of man that they pick to do the rearing, to do the feeding, and that's most of us. And then there is that rare kind of man that they pick to do the breeding, and those are the biological fathers. Now, I used to think that this was a subconscious thing that they were doing. They weren't really aware of it until some of them started talking about this on radio programs and saying to men, and I would see the screenshots or hear the radio clips. And what I came to understand is that this dual mating strategy in which these Western ladies are involved, they're aware of it. So they knew when they were laying down with the biological father, he's got the DNA I want, and I'm not going to ask for nothing else. So he doesn't have to have it.
You
And
think it's
then when the
DNA?
kids come, huh?
You think it's DNA involved? I don't think they think that deep.
I would say they don't, but they may not be thinking about DNA, but what they are thinking about is this is the kind of guy I want to screw, and I'm not going to ask him for nothing else. And then
Okay.
I'm going to bring the bills for the vagina to these other men that
Yeah,
I
because
don't
they're more
want.
dependable.
Not only are they more dependable, I mean, if that was the case, you could just become undependable and you should then be swimming in it, which in that case, every man would just become undependable so that they could have their options as to who they're going to be with. But it comes down to the fact that they are sitting up and saying, I don't want a dependable man to have these kids, to actually breed and conceive the kids because they're inferior. What they're saying is that dependable, normal men are not normal, but rather inferior. And that only a few
I
men
think
that are just carefree. The point I'm making is that they know that they're doing something that they would consider malicious if we did to them. They know it's wrong. They know that this is an insult and a slap in the face to most normal men, and they're insisting on doing it consciously from a young age. They're sitting up in high schools and colleges now and talking about how to do stuff like this. And so they are looking at you, me, and most normal men and saying he's a cuck, he's inferior. I'm going to give him this nasty deal I would never tolerate. And that's why they'll sit up and say, I got 3 kids and they my world, and keep it pushing if you ain't ready for this. And I want a man with no kids. I mean, they're sitting up here telling you, I'm bringing all this baggage and you need to step up and bring all these assets and don't
You know what
ask me
I,
for anything.
subhanallah, I had two Muslim sisters and one Christian, okay? And one of the Muslim sisters accused me of touching a child. The other one was an enabler in the whole, hid things about the other one that I should have known prior. Begged me not to divorce, kept me in it longer than I needed to be for my own sanity. So I ended up just with the Christian girl, right? She's
Hmm.
half my age. She's barely 26. She's half my age. Uh, and she has no children except mine, my three. Okay, all legitimate, you know. So this is my situation now. She's about me. Okay, she's about me. She loves me. You know, she like again. She wants to take shahada. She's almost there, but that's not for me to press or push. I'm there to share information, and that's what I'm there for. Dawah. I'm not there to coerce her or push her in any direction that she's not naturally entering. I've done that before. I've had women go and take shahada because I denied them. They went took shahada behind my back, came back with a hijab on and say, "Now will you marry me?" You know, I've had that done. So I'm not, because I spent 20 years as a Kappa. People know me. So I'm not in that space. I'm very happy, content, and not looking for a wife right now. And after the situation comes or arises, then that's a different conversation to be had. But right now, I'm in a very comfortable space, a space that, ironically, I couldn't find with a couple of sisters. Not only the one accused me of touching her child, the other one had her ex-husband living in a house with her that I'm paying maintenance. And speaking of touching a child, he's apparently having relations with his little daughter in a room in the house while I'm paying maintenance. You know what I'm saying? So again, this is some wild stuff. You know, I'm not gonna tolerate that from Muslim or Kafir. I'm not tolerating that. I'm in a good space right now. Inshallah ta'ala, may Allah ta'ala guide her to Islam. But there's a lot of criticism coming from sisters when Allah says al muhsinat, you know, that the Utul Kitab, people of the book, Jew and Christian, must be al muhsinat. He also says the believing women must be al muhsinat. How many of them would qualify? How many of them will qualify? And this is the problem, again, with the hubris of overvaluing yourself. Yes, you took Shahada. MashaAllah. That's between you and Allah. How you behave to me is my measure. Allah's measure is that you believe and do righteous deeds. I'm concentrating more on the deeds to validate the belief. That's me as a human being. Allah Ta'ala judges your intent. I don't know your intent. All I know is your speech and your actions. And I'm in a good space now. So yes, I choose her over you. That doesn't say anything about me. I have the choice. Allah gave me the choice. That says more about you. That's my position. I'm good.
Well, it's good to have and to keep that good conscience, that clear conscience. The thing is that, unfortunately, and this is something I would say that Muslims in general tend to make this mistake, along with Christians too. And that is that we underestimate the shaitan. And I'm not saying we don't have free will. I'm saying we underestimate the shaitan. And we tend to forget that if you find yourself convinced to do certain things that are wrong, one after the other, that the next step is for those shayateen assigned to you to try to convince you to do things that are going to cause problems for other people around you. And what I see largely is that whether we're thinking of the shaitan or not, Muslim men generally are thinking about how their actions are going to affect others and the community, generally speaking. So you may have about a third of guys that are willing to be straight thug with the shahada, face tattoos, drug dealing, having taken shahada. You might find about a third of, maybe not even that much. You find another third that is somewhere in the middle, and you find, let's say, a third that are above average in their quality. So you'll see a pretty wide distribution amongst men. I don't see the same thing when brothers are telling me about sisters, even when sisters are talking about sisters, or when sisters are talking about their wish to get married. What I'm saying for the most part is no matter how responsible they are in other areas of their life, no matter how good a physician or a surgeon they are or engineer, and they could be top notch and good at all these things, even no matter how good of just a general friend they might be as a friend. When it comes to the men, they start saying, I don't care what the effects are on others. I want more than what I'm willing to offer in exchange. I'm going to bring double standards to you, and you need to not question me about them, even though I'm going to lose respect for you if you don't question them at some point. You're going to come in and look after, I.e., somebody else's kids, as an example. You're going to value me while I'm big as a house. You're not going to look at women that are in better shape than I am. No, I would not have chosen you when I was younger. Now I'm older and I want you, and you're going to take me as I am right now and look after me and treat me like I am. Matter of fact, you're going to treat me like you're my first, even though I'm sitting up, even though I pretty much looked at you when I was younger and said, hell no. That's what they're doing. They're doing exactly what they will not tolerate. If you look at what they don't want men to do and what disqualifies men, they're turning and doing exactly these same things, acting childish, demanding unrealistic deals and exchanges. They're doing exactly this. So, in a nutshell, that's part of why I've been saying it's a war.
Yeah.
What you're involved in and what I'm involved in is, in fact, a war. And unfortunately, we weren't supposed to be in it. We men did not ask for this, but this is, in fact, a war. You can't be insecure as a man, and that's fine. But can you find them without some kind of insecurities when you get to know them well enough? Or do they always come up with an insecurity about something?
Well, the fault, I'll take the fault myself. Despite their insecurities, all of them have insecurities. When they say, does these shoes match my dress? That's an insecurity. When they say, do I look fat in this abaya? That's an insecurity. But nevertheless, I blame myself for being a sucker in that I didn't cater, I didn't pander, but I was always looking for the blessing, you know. But I was receiving curses. You're looking for blessings, but you're receiving curses. And I had to come to realization. Sisters counseled me on it. Brothers had to sit down and counsel me on it. And they told me, Yahi, what put her in that situation in the first place? I never thought about that. You know, I'm trying to get to heaven. I'm trying to, ice skate into heaven on rollerblades, you know, and by taking care of orphans and single women and giving them protection and maintenance. And I'm thinking of that. But I had to realize I'm the problem. I admit right now I'm the problem. I went into situations in the negative. I overextended myself. Okay, so much time, so much has been wasted. Now you said you thought I was in my 40s, maybe 30s, or what have you. Well, my wife keeps me young. You know what I'm saying? I'm less stressed out, you know. I'm not depressed, you know. And her youth keeps me young, you know. If I can keep up with her, I'm active, you know. If I keep up with her, I'm active and on all levels. So again, uh, we have a war going on. It's not a war to men didn't start it. Men didn't choose it. It's not natural. It's not natural, but yet and still we're in it. Mayor Cuomo is in a war, and I wish he called me up, holler at me. You know, we had the same conversation. You know, Deshaun Watson, if he called me up, I was just in Houston yesterday. For a few hours for an Akika. So if he calls me, I'm gonna holler at him and say, look, man, you need to change it up, bro. You know what I'm saying? First of all, you need to study Islam and figure out, you need to find your footing in life. I say, but even if not that, you need to adopt, the concept of having four wives. I'm gonna tell you about how to go about doing it, and so on and so forth. Because that these men are too affluent. They are not necessarily alpha, but they are in position. They're in position to call the shots. They shouldn't have people calling shots at them or accusing them. That's why I say innocent,
Well,
innocent.
The innocent, I'm sorry, the alpha as far as ladies are concerned, and that's okay to describe it that way, because that's really the only way women view men anyway. It's according to how they want the man, or according to how other women want the man.
Okay.
But they, in a nutshell, yeah, I see what you mean. I'm like you. I wish he had called me up. I wish that hell, I wish Russell Wilson had called me up
Yeah.
beforehand. I could have told him what the deal was. So let alone these guys here that are in even more trouble that I could have told them how
Well, I think Russell Wilson
to
is
avoid.
more of a project. I think his situation is not that easy
It's
because
not.
he's he broke ranks
He
on
did,
several
but the
occasions.
thing he did, but the thing is, I mean, Russell Wilson, he's one of those guys that doesn't know, and a lot of guys who break ranks don't really know what the deal is. They don't understand that we're in a war. That these ladies are sitting up saying, "I want to screw him, and then I want to screw him in the bed, and I
Yeah,
want to screw him in the bank."
exactly.
This other guy in the bank, they don't understand that these women are that the women don't even like more than 15% of the men they see. And so, and that only 13% of cold approaches even succeed. The minimum failure rate for them is 87%, according to some dating website. I forgot which one, but a YouTuber named Mumia Obsidian Ali talked about this about 2 years ago. 13% success rate is considered dismal in any line of business, but human reproduction depends on exactly that. So, these guys, a lot of them don't understand. There were a few years ago, I didn't fully understand that this is not just a gender conflict. This is a further mucking war. And I didn't curse just now for the censors that are listening in, but they don't, a lot of them just don't know. I got, my son knows, alhamdulillah. My namesake friend in Atlanta knows. One of my childhood friends in my hometown knows, and the other one does not know. So, there are two of them. We're all in a Facebook group. Two of them know about my YouTube channel. They know that I'm Black Mind, and they're about to find out I'm Akili Nyeusi on Facebook. But they don't. It's two that know, and we're all keeping it a secret from the third because he's still purple pill at this point, largely too blue pilled. And he's been to the Dominican Republic and had his mind blown by the treatment that he received. He was just going to visit
Yeah.
to see if he could. He wanted to retire there when he reaches retirement at his job. Just for that, he wasn't going to trick, and he got his mind blown. But when I told him, "Bruh, go ahead, start some kind of business on the side, retire there, and marry two of them. Go ahead and marry two." He ain't Muslim, but he was like, "I'm not sure about that. But man, you got to stop being so hard on these women out here." And I was like, "No, not really, because I'm not being hard on them. We men have been too easy, and that's why one of them, finest chick in the high school when you and I were there, now she's older. She's still in good shape, but she's older, got kids by some other dude, and she's coming back to you. Come on, bro."
Yeah.
He was like, "Yeah, man, look at her. She fine. I'm here. I am. I'm 5'4". I look like a wrecking ball with legs, and she coming back to me because of my attitude." And I was like, "No, it's because of her options." And I don't even hate this woman, but it's because of her options. There was a time she was shooing dudes away, and but this leads me back to your previous point about what you blame yourself for. Even still, you were trying to do something good, and they capitalized on it in a predatory fashion. You see what I'm saying? You weren't out here trying to capitalize on them in a predatory fashion. You trying to take care of orphans and get to paradise. I was trying to do the same thing at one particular point. But I did it abroad, and I was treated better for it because I was just fortunate. I just had the hookup. That's all it was. But see, the only reason I can say what I'm about to say is because I'm not here under my real name and I'm not showing who I am. The best way for us to do this is to do it secretly. We can do it. If we're looking for these ways to get to paradise, and Lord knows, Allah knows, I need it to wash away a lot of my sins. But if we're going to do it, the best way is for us to just do it secretly. Nobody knows. You just go into your, I guess, go and make these secret online donations when nobody's looking. Because the minute that it gets out that we're looking to take care of a widow and orphans, the minute that gets out, guess what's going to happen? You can go into the community, tell their mom you're looking to get married, and you can mention a woman that's on the same level as you financially and these sorts of things, and nobody will come and bite. Mind you, you're not trying to be hypergamous yourself, But just looking for a woman that's comparable to your situation, nobody's going to bite. He'll be looking for months and years maybe. But you go in and you say, I'm looking to take care of a widow and orphans, and then they come approaching you. Why is that? Because they have to, it's because of their hubris, their own pride and their shame. They have to lose options in order to appreciate the options that are still there. And that's not an adult way to think. So for us to do that, it's probably just best to just slip a little money or put in an envelope in the imam's office and be like, this is for some widows and orphans. Don't ask me who I am or who did this. This is from Allah. Close your mouth.
Well, see, that
And
happened. That happened at the same time. The donations, the this, the that. Seeing someone in need, providing a need. So on and so forth. That type of thing. That happened, and still happens. Okay, it happened and still happens. But we're talking about, the problem is, it's like a woman that has a child with the sole purpose and intent of putting a man on child support and getting 20%, 25%, whatever state you live in, of his wealth, okay, from his check, automatic deposit. So it's the same way. That money doesn't take care of those kids. My oldest two, I lost them because their mom was getting a whole bunch of child support, and she didn't give me my rights, and she actually turned them against me. These are kids I gave a key to my home. Ironically, her son, I married her when her son was 1 year old. He was in and out my house, had a key, come live here, stack his money up, go back, get his apartment. He fall on hard times, lose his job. He has free reigns in my house. He's not even my blood son, But my two were turned against me. How can I be a better father to your child and I'm not a good father to my children? So again, I treated that boy so well, he didn't find out I wasn't his dad until he was 11 years old. He was 11 years old when his mom heard him in the backseat talking, praising me, talking highly of me. She turned around and said, that's not your real dad. And he told me the story. So again, this is the issue. So giving sadaqah doesn't take care of these children who they are without shame. They're shameless. They are the victims. And that was my intent. Let me put up with this one that's less desirable, long as she agrees to the tenets of the contract. Let me put up with somebody that's less physically desirable, so on and so forth. And I've done that. People will look at me and say, man, that ain't your type. I said, yeah, but got the babies and this and that. So again, it was a little bit different. If I gave them money, I don't know what would have happened to that money. I don't know what would have happened to that money. So like I say, my mindset is totally different now, alhamdulillah. Better late than never. I'm not dead yet, so alhamdulillah, on forward,
well, she's I don't really know everything that goes through their heads when they make these decisions. But I do know that this is evident. It's proof of a warlike mindset. And they come to us with some hostility. A lot of times they start off like this. And I used to think that it was different amongst the Muslims, and I found out that there's a chance for that, but a lot of times it ain't any difference amongst the Muslims. Let me specify amongst the Muslimat, that they're looking to pretty much extract maximum, not even price, but even maximum penalty in exchange for anything you get from them. And in a nutshell, you start to look and see, well, this is a kind of resentment. She's acting based on some kind of resentment towards you. She's treating you like she resents you when she doesn't have a reason to. So if she's not resentful of you because of who you are and what you did, then she's resentful of you because of something you did not do or someone you are not. Exactly. And they're coming into the deen with this, and you decided that you're going to actually follow the rules and try to take care of some widows and orphans, become a target. And that's part of why I've been saying that the best thing now, and of course, none of us can undo the past. But why I realize the best thing now is to look after them, but just privately, secretly, where even they don't know where the help is coming from. Yeah. And if I had my name, some people want me to show myself and put my real name. Look, if I did that, then I can't sit up here and talk about doing something like this, because then that would ruin the secrecy of what I'm doing. Yeah. But yeah, that's this. And you don't have to say, I'm going to start doing that, because then you ruin your own secrecy. But that's the only way left for us, in a nutshell. That's really like the only way left for us. You paid a bigger sacrifice for helping them than what I've ever paid. That's true. But you didn't know this going in. So you're not guilty of hurting yourself. This is something they did to you. But yeah, moving forward, yeah, what's the only way left to do this without opening yourself up to this kind of harm is to do it secretly. Trust me, if they know that you're looking to do this, they're going to come out the woodwork. Single moms are going to come out the maybe not the widows per se, but the single moms are definitely going to come out the woodwork with these babies, and that's not fair to you. You're not putting your kids the responsibility for your children on them or on other men, but they're going to turn around and put the responsibility for their kids on you. May even tell you, I don't want no more kids ever. And then they're pretty much going to offer you a bad deal. The whole market is screwed up,
Well,
whether you're Muslim
it's
or
better
not.
not to have children with that type. Of course, I learned that. I learned that later. My last child that was taken from me, she remarried and still won't give me my son. Uh, I learned that the hard way. I wasn't even planning to have kids, wanting to have a child at that particular time, but I didn't necessarily prevent it either. I'm saying I didn't. I didn't. I think I tried to practice the rhythm method, and that works with my young. Well, both of them were the same age. Actually, both of them were young. But my wife I have now, that actually works with her. So we can almost be in that time about the time we have the children. You know, we can basically shoot for a date almost. So be in the lot. So anyway, I don't. I think I tried to prevent it. I think I tried to practice the rhythm, withdrawal method, pull out, whatever. And I think that she just got pregnant, and man, it's really really bad. But you take people at face value. You think that Islam would be their standard in all and every situation, and it's not. What are you gonna do besides that? What are you gonna do besides that? But nevertheless, that's where we are. I don't want to belabor it any longer. I got work to do on the house. I'm trying to get this back room ready for my wife, because she might call any minute and say, "You working on that room yet?"
Gotcha, gotcha. Well, she's made it worthwhile. So go ahead and keep your promise. It's about to be the prayer time here.
Okay.
Sun's going to go down shortly. So I understand. And thank you again for having me on the show. And may Allah return your children to you. And may He frustrate the wicked women that have wanted to stop that when He returns them to you. May He return them to you with a sense of victory, like, yeah, in your face. You know what I mean? You understand?
Allah. That's what
Yes,
I would hope
indeed.
for, but I would be content just to have that baby, in my arms, well protected, not around a bunch of strange men, in situations, like I mean, just real quick, it was like, hey, I need a certain amount of more money, because I'm going to put the child in daycare because I'm working from home and it's hard to work, and I say, no, you send that baby to me. You send that baby to me. Oh no, I'm not doing that. Okay, well, I'm not doing that. You know. Well, what makes you think you're
Well,
entitled to all of Islam and you don't practice any of it? Give me a break.
well, that's exactly how they've been viewing. That's exactly how the West has trained them. That's that Disney movie ideal: owe to everything and owe nothing in exchange.
Exactly.
So, they're entitled to the gain without the loss and the benefit without the cost, as far as they're concerned. And I hate to say it, but when they take the Shahada, it doesn't seem to remove that. And when we read that verse wherein Allah says that people who say they believe are going to be tested, just like the people before were tested, and then Allah lists everything that we hate. He lists the hunger, the fear, the poverty, even death and the loss of children.
Yes.
When we read this, we know we're not exempt. The only question is, did we go through it before, or do we have yet to go through it,
Yes.
or both? That's our question. When they read it, sir, a lot of times the Western ladies, the Western Muslimat, are reading this and they're thinking that they're exempt from this. It's not supposed to happen to them. I mean, they really are reading this with this kind of mindset, because they saw it in the movie when they were young. Even if they weren't Muslim when they saw it in an animated Disney movie about witchcraft and magic while they were young. And so they think that this removes this from them. And so there's nothing you or I could have done to stop this. That damage was done even before our mothers were born.
Yeah.
And so by now we're just seeing the real tail end of it. And that's part of why I've said for you marrying a Muslima was not an option. Years ago, I would have never said this, but now I get it. It wasn't an option for you in order to stay sane and healthy. And by the way, when you were practicing the rhythm method and the previous wife still conceived, she lied about the rhythm. I hate to say that, but I had to learn that the hard way too. They can lie about the rhythm. That's one of the things that they'll do. And it's actually a common practice for some of them to fake the menses being longer than what it really is and throw some pads away in the trash can so that you yourself will mistime it.
Yeah.
This is
That's a big possibility because I mean, there's still some, some gray areas and some, ambiguity to me as far as the situation is concerned. But nevertheless, one thing I didn't mention, 2018, January 21st, I think I got hit by a car. It was coming out of a place we were going to open up as a masjid on the poor side of town, right? And I came out, and me and another brother standing, looking around, surveying additional parking spaces if possible around, near the masjid. And two cars hit each other. One T-boned one car. The car that was T-boned went into me and fractured my lower right leg, my tib and fib, and then threw me in the air. They say about 50 feet, and threw me against the masjid. So I'm in the hospital recovering from that. Uh, the wife I said had the ex-husband crackhead living in the house who's more than likely touching his daughter. He calls his little daughter, she's like 6 years old, calls her his wife. Every time he introduces his daughter, this is my wife. I mean, you're calling your daughter your wife, stuff a lot of things. Anyway, it was some stuff about some ranch dressing in the bedroom, and it's all kind of other stuff, man. It's really sickening. Or I'm not going to call the Child Protective Services because I'm the only good thing in that child's life. I say, no, you're one of the enablers in that child's life. You don't deserve to be around that child, So anyway, so all of this being said, I told her I'm not going to pay for you to come down and be at my hospital bedside. I have my Christian wife here that would do that. So she says, no, I'm coming. And me and my Christian wife was separated. She was married. I had two Muslims wives, after her. So she said, no, I'm coming. And she put a GoFundMe on Facebook, and they gave her money to come. I'm like, wow, she's down here. So she came down here. She was already in Idda. So she's coming down here, I guess, trying to win my favor. When I told you not to, that I'm good, like I said, this Christian woman, if I gave her $1 million, or if I showed her what $1 million was in a suitcase, she wouldn't take it and flee. She wouldn't take a dime from it unless she asked me. She actually more of a giver. If she has $1 million, she'll say, "Baby, can you put this in your account?" That's just the way she is. I don't. I mean, it comes from Allah Ta'ala ultimately, but it's just the way she is, and I can trust her. The money I had, being immobilized. I'm a contractor. I get on roofs. I get under houses. I build them from the ground up. So I need to be mobile. I was immobilized, and the money I had, the Muslim community, of course, came to my rescue financially and everything, and they took care of everything for me, mashallah, and with surplus.
alhamdulillah.
But I'm saying I'm in that position. I had a bunch of cash in my hospital room. Brothers came and just drop off envelopes of cash, and alhamdulillah. So I'm like, I call my Christian wife. I say, hey, you can take this, take this. I cannot do that with the Philly wife. I cannot do this with the North Carolina wife, and they were Muslim. You know, so I gave her the money. Not a dime spent. Not a dime spent. All that time, months in the hospital, not a dime spent. You know, 6 surgeries, not a dime spent. You know, spending her own money to bring me food to the hospital, spending her own money for this and own money for that. That's just the type of person she is. So I was in a space where I needed somebody I could trust, right? She's a Kafir. Wonderful. Okay, I needed somebody I could actually trust, that if I could not work another day in my life, this woman would work and take care of me. You do know that? And she's young and beautiful, and don't have any outside kids besides mine. And that was my situation. Now, sisters can hate me for that. Continue to hate me. I don't want you. And me marrying another woman don't put me out the market. I'm saying? Me marrying a Christian woman don't put me
Well,
out the market. I'm still desirable to many sisters, believe it or not. You know what I'm saying? And this is just my
well,
situation. I needed somebody I can trust. It's sad that the women I had in my circle that were, hijabi and salam alaikum, I couldn't trust them.
Well, if sisters hate you, to be honest with you, other than someone that really just heard someone else's side of the story and thinks that you just jumped over a bunch of Muslims to marry a disbeliever, other than a sister like that that's just, got lied to. If a sister knows a scenario and still hates you, she does not hate you. No, actually, I was about to say she doesn't hate you because of the good you found. And it dawned on me, no, that's exactly. They would hate you for that. They also hate you because of what they can't get out of you. Even if they could still marry you, resources are limited and they don't want to share. And it took me a while to realize that women don't feel a guck about a man being about a man liking other women. They actually have a problem when he doesn't. They get sick of that too. They have a problem when they got to share status and resources, and that's what bothers a lot of them about polygyny. And so, consequently, that's really why a lot of times they just wind up hating you because of the suffering you're not going through, and that even though we put Allah's revelation above race, this is a trauma within the race. They've just there's this disdain, this resentment they have against black men, even when they become Muslim. It bothers them. They get angry about bad things that not just good things that happen to us, but bad things that don't.
Well,
And
other
there's
races
nothing
do
you.
murder co-wives. They actually murder them. Knife
Mhm.
fights, all that good stuff, man. So I mean, African American, descendants of slaves, uh, what they call it, ADOS. They are conditioned and they go through a lot and they give out a lot. But a lot of other races are killing the co-wives, actually stabbing them to death and poisoning them and all this type of stuff. And again, this is women overvaluing themselves, don't realize their role. The man is the prize. You got a man, you won. You got a man, you won. If he's angry all the time, if he's this, he's that, change yourself. Change yourself and make life more pleasurable for him. You know, make life more. Get off of social media so much. Get out of them television programs that are programming you. Get off of all of that. Be about your man. Ask him, what can I do to make you happy? I know we've been together 5 years, 10 years. What can I do? What can I change about myself? Where is it that I'm deficient? Because you won. You won. So ask the prize, which is the man, how can I better myself? How can I better myself to make life more pleasurable for you? Because when you're happy, then you can make me happy. You know? That's how that works. But
Mm.
again, that's another topic. I appreciate having you on, Yahi. Always a pleasure. Your intelligence, your insightfulness is good for myself and is good for the audience. Inshallah, I'll have you on again if you would have me. Inshallah.
Gladly, sir. And I haven't forgotten that you have to be on my show as well. As a matter of fact, I'll text you one of the things that's coming up,
Inshallah.
inshallah, because you may be a chance for both of us to get some rewards. And thank you for having me, sir, for your patience. And
Inshallah.
I benefited from you as well.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. So with that, I'll bid you adieu and say Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Take care.
You too, inshallah. MashaAllah, the brother is always insightful, always brings the intellect, brings experience and knowledge, MashaAllah. So, uh, again, this issue with Mayor Cuomo and Deshaun Jackson is an easy one to solve. Not guilty. Leave those men alone and allow them to make adjustments forward. There are no criminal acts with either of them. They are guilty of only allowing manipulators and scavengers in their space. This is Dal Kufr. These men are kuffar. What more will you expect? It is for us that know better to teach them better, to explain to them better. Mayor Cuomo, Deshaun Watson, innocent, aka not guilty. This has been Saad Imam for Ex-Faktly. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.